literally broke, historical evidence tells us he was actually a pretty successful entrepreneur. Here's 3 things that we know. Number 1, we know he had an accountant. Second thing, when he died, all of the Roman soldiers played blackjack to see who got to keep his clothes, because it said that his clothes were worth 3 years' wages. He does not have an issue rolling up in like red bottom shoes and a Louis Vuitton.
There's a myriad of issues here. Number 1, blackjack was not invented until like the 1800s.
It's not what they were playing. I'm unreasonably angry.
No, hold on, wait. 2, Judas was not an accountant. He was the guy, they lived on the road. Actually, they had 0 possessions.
Yeah, they weren't on retainer.
Yeah, there's so many stories about how much he related to the poor. The poor come to me at all times. This is a wild, he said no problem rolling up in Louis Vuitton.
For what?
And red bottoms, dude.
I think the first guy, his only mistake, unless they cut it in a certain way, that he was expressing things in a more modern day jestful meaning. I don't think he literally meant they played blackjack. Everybody knows. Well, everybody don't know, but they cast lots, which is like either casting some type of bones or domino type items, things of that nature. And these other guys just, they just don't know Jesus. But Jesus was not poor. Jesus was never poor. According to your story, the Jesus character was never poor. According to the way he taught, Jesus character did not teach out of poverty. People like to think and have this image of Jesus being poor. This is one of the reasons why we're deconstructing this Bible, because there's so many people have their misconceptions and lies and don't understand this book that they claim that they live their life by. Now, according to the narrative in the story of Jesus, Jesus was a carpenter or a stonemason. Most likely a stonemason over a carpenter, because there's not a lot of trees in Israel to be a carpenter. There's not a lot of wood. If he was up in Lebanon, maybe so, but that's just not working. So most likely did some type of construction work, some type of stonemasonry, something of that nature. That's what his father Joseph did. That's what he would have done. That's just how society was back then. His mother was part of the Levitical line, and so her parents were most likely Levitical priests. Certainly her cousin's husband, Zechariah, was a Levitical priest. These were not poor people. And oftentimes poor people don't, a person of one class is not going to allow someone of a lower class to marry them. It doesn't usually work that way, not from a man to a higher class woman. It might be from a lower class woman to a higher class man. So Joseph could not have been considered a poor man if the woman he's marrying is from the Levitical priesthood. So he would have married somebody of means. That's 1. That's 2, actually. Third thing is the fact that, according to the Matthew story, they just picked up and went to Egypt. Not everybody can just pick up and go to Egypt. A whole other country, way down the street. Got to have some money to be able to do that. Plus, you got to have a talent or skill that translate when you get there. So you had to have some money. Now, it says they went, but in Luke, of course, it says they went back to Jerusalem. So I went to Jerusalem, then went back to Galilee. So there's a whole little contradiction going on right there. Now, when you look more at the Jesus story, a couple of things. When he found Peter, Peter was he was fishing, and he said, "We can't find no fish." Jesus said, "Go over there, some fish over there." Peter over there, he loading up the fish. And then he said, "Hey," he called in his other boats. Sounds like Peter had some employees. Peter wasn't broke. Judas wasn't an accountant, but he was the treasurer. Judas held the money. He kept track of the money. So evidently all the money wasn't going out to the poor. He was holding the money. And when you need a treasurer, keeping the accounts, poor people don't have treasurers. So he was a treasurer, to use the exact and correct term. Now, when they say that they was casting lots for his clothing, it is actually not the majority of it is not based on the clothing that the Jesus character was wearing. The majority of it is based on the clothing that Pontius Pilate supposedly put on Jesus, which would have been purple clothing. If you understood anything about purple clothing back then, it would take, I think it's something like it takes 1,200 snails or 12,000 snails that would emit this liquid, this purple goo. And they would use that purple goo in order to make linen. And that's why it was something for rich people. If Pilate, in mocking the Jesus character, put some purple linen on him, of course they're casting lots for that. That's money in the bank. But it wasn't owned by Jesus. It was something that was given by Pilate. So you can't really claim that one. So I'm with them on that part. But the other part, as far as this Jesus being a broke person, when Jesus is telling the parable or talking to the rich young ruler, the reason why the apostles are like, damn, if the rich young ruler can't get in, then how the hell we gonna get in? Because in their culture, in their understanding, uh, wealth is measured. Well, your righteousness is also measured by your wealth. Poor people have less righteousness because God hasn't blessed them because of their righteousness. So the wealthier you are, the more righteous you are considered in their tradition. Yes, the Jesus character is saying that, hey, even your wealth can't get you in because he still is holding on into his heart. That I understand that's the message that was trying to be taught. I get it, even as somebody who doesn't believe in this story. I get the meaning of it. But the Jesus character could have never told that story for their understanding if there wasn't already a preconditioned mindset that wealthy people are more righteous. And since people were willing to follow this Jesus, here's the rub, since people were willing to follow this Jesus, then that demonstrates that the Jesus character could not have been a poor person, because they would not have followed a poor person claiming to be the Son of God, claiming to be the Messiah. The Messiah could have never come and be a poor person. The Messiah would be someone who could sit on the throne of David. Think about that now. They would have never followed Jesus if they didn't think that Jesus could have been a character that would sit on the throne of David. His father, Joseph's line, comes from the throne of David, from the line of David. So he is of the seed of David, although the particular line that he comes from has been banned and cursed from ever sitting on the throne. That's in, I think, Jeremiah 22. So the Jesus character is part of the royal line of the Israelites. So he would not have been poor. It's just there's so many contradictions and so many flippity floppity things in these storylines. This is why we deconstruct. This is why you keep losing people to your congregations. The more and more people are able to study these things for themselves and come to realizations for themselves, they see how the Bible is nothing more than fairy tales. That almost every prominent person in the Bible is wealthy. That poor people always get shit on in this book. That women get shit on in this book. That is a constant theme that runs through this book, and which is why we deconstruct from it. Because a book that is supposedly for poor people, to benefit poor people, actually is more damaging to poor people. Because it got y'all throwing away all your money, thinking that you don't want to be rich because it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the gates of heaven. You don't even understand what that story is talking about. So y'all have a great day, and always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself. Because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.